ですか?
Hello, I'm once again asking you to record your radio show from home. In the last video, I made the huge blunder of telling you to download Voicemeeter on a Mac computer. That doesn't exist. I thought that it did. And so anyone who had a Mac computer, the whole thing was just ruined. So we can't have that. And so I went scouring the internet for an alternative to Voicemeeter available for Mac, which doesn't exist. All of the alternatives are like $100, and I really don't think something like that should cost $100. It's just your audio being routed different places. But it's okay, because there are free DAWs out there that you can use if you use Audition in the station. That's a DAW. It'll be something like that. The one I chose is called Waveform. It seems pretty good to me. It's free. It's not a free trial. It's just free. And I'll show you how to get started with that and how to record some tracks. We're going to do this. I apologize. Thanks for your patience with me. And we're just going to get started. So the software that we're going to be using to record everything is called Waveform Free. You could just Google that or click the link I'll have in the description. No matter what operating system you're using, download this. This is the big thing we'll be using. They'll have you make an account here. I've already made an account, but just fill this out and hit submit, and they'll send you to the download link. I've already done that, so I'll just go to my account, go to the downloads, and in the downloads, we have for Mac, for Windows, for Linux, for Raspberry Pi, and just hit the one that is correct for your operating system. And I've already downloaded it, so I'm just going to open it here. And we're going to hit yes. Accept the agreement. Next, 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 next. And this should install without any problems. Alright, we're not going to launch it right now because there's more stuff we have to set up, but we will. These next two things are only for Windows users. The first is ASIO for All, which is a universal ASIO driver for Windows. Download here, the English version, whichever language you speak. And I've already downloaded it, so it will be in my downloads. I'm going to hit next, accept, next, next, next. And that's done. That sort of is very helpful for having multiple inputs and recording them both at the same time. The last thing we need is Voicemeeter. Voicemeeter is a virtual audio mixer, which we will need to use to record your system sound and do other stuff. So we're going to hit install and save file. Oh, yeah, and I already have it, so we're going to go to my downloads, open it, say install. And now all I need to do is reboot my system and it'll all be installed. And so we're going to go install the things you need for Mac next to do what we're trying to do, and then come back to my Windows computer and make a demo radio show recording. Okay? Sounds good. See you after I reboot my computer. Okay, so for Mac we need an application called Soundflower. The best way to get it is here, GitHub Soundflower Mac. The real version is on GitHub. There's a not real version elsewhere. Make sure you go on this one. I'll put the link in the description. You want to click here. It says, look for the signed installer, and then hit the DMG file. The DMG file is what you need. When you open it up, it'll work like any other Mac installation file. Although it will have an issue at first because it is by an unknown developer. So you'll have to go into security and preferences, or no, what is it called? Security and privacy on your Mac. You just search security and privacy, and it'll come up. There will be two things. Make sure you hit both of them. Hit allow first and then open anyway. If there's only one of them, just do that, and then if it fails again, close it and try it again and check in security and privacy. There's more details on why that happens in this little file. What am I saying? On the page, on the GitHub page, it explains up here the security steps required by Apple. And so if you're having issues, just read that. It is a little weird, I apologize, but it's the only way to install Soundflower currently. Yeah, make sure you just do all that. And it'll install it. It might take a little bit because of these weird security things. Don't worry, it's a fine program. And when it's done, just hit close, and we can go into the next thing. So open Waveform now, if you've installed it. Like I asked you to in the beginning, it'll show up. It's going to ask you for a registration here. So just put in your username and password, your email and password, the email you used to sign up for your Waveform account. And now we can do the basic setup for Waveform. So the first thing you want to do is set up the audio device. And what you want to set here is an aggregate device, which we haven't yet set up. Or you can have the output set to built-in output, but these other things you don't really need to do. Really what's important to us at Webs is the audio devices. What we're going to do here is have the output set to built-in output, and the input right now is set to built-in microphone, but we want it to be an aggregate device of your microphone and the Soundflower channel. So first we can open just a little test project. So open your audio and MIDI settings and hit the plus sign and hit aggregate device. You can now select built-in microphone and Soundflower. That will combine your microphone and your Soundflower into one input. Then you could do create multi-output device and select the built-in output and the Soundflower channel. And that sends anything on your computer to both Soundflower and your regular speakers and headphones. That was pretty quick. So that was an audio and MIDI settings. Audio MIDI setup, sorry. You could search that like you'd search anything else. So close out a waveform just so that the settings can reset. And then open your sound settings and select the multi-output device as your output channel. Okay, and now you can open Waveform again. So then go into the setup audio device once more, and for the output, select built-in output, that's still fine. And for the input, select the aggregate device. This will allow the Soundflower channel and the microphone channel to both come in as separate inputs. They're selected as 4 inputs right now, which we have to change because it's only showing up as the left or the right channel. We want input 1 and 2 and input 3 and 4 to be the same. So back in the settings, if you click on one of the inputs, there's this menu that appears. If you go down and click Treat as Stereo Channel Pair, you'll be able to combine them into one input, which is exactly what we want. So do that with both input 1 and input 3. It combines input 1 and 2 together and 3 and 4 together. Now you can set those as the inputs of the tracks. You do that by right-clicking on the track and selecting Choose Input, which is the input that you want. So now the first one is your microphone, and the second one is your music being recorded off your computer. It's all of your system sounds being recorded off your computer. So that includes your messages. So make sure you close out of, messaging apps, iMessage, whatever, before you do it. And I'm just demonstrating here just that it's recording music that's being played off the computer. We can now go do a demo show on my computer, and I'll talk more about what all these things do. If you have any issues setting up the inputs, just please send me an email. Okay, so our Windows setup is going to look like this. It's going to be Voicemeeter will be recording your system sound. We're sort of taking it as input. It will be outputting it to ASIO for all, as well. Your microphone will be outputting to ASIO for all. There, we're going to be using Waveform, the digital audio workstation, to record both your microphone and your system sound, coming from ASIO for all and Voicemeeter. So the first thing we need to do is open Voicemeeter. Voicemeeter has a lot of cool functions. We're actually not going to use a lot of them for our purposes. All really what we're going to have is that this virtual input is where we're going to be sending our system sound. Let's make this at 0 decibels. It's probably a good idea. And this hardware out, we want it to be set to ASIO for all version 2. There's a bunch of other options, and it may not be default set to ASIO for all. So just make sure it's set to ASIO for all. You don't need to change any other settings on here, but you do need to leave it open, so just minimize it. The next thing, ASIO for all isn't really an application, so the next thing we're going to do is open Waveform. Waveform, it will ask you when you log in for the first time to put in your username and password, your email and password, and that will verify it. I've done it once, so it's saved on my computer, so I can't show it to you again. But it's going to have this checkbox of stuff you need to do. You do need to install Waveform, of course. The next thing, in the setup audio device, you want to hit maybe set to Windows Audio or Direct Sound. Make sure it's set to ASIO, and that your device is set to ASIO for all version 2. And don't change your sample rate, don't change your audio buffer size. But I do want you to hit Control Panel. In Control Panel, you see all your audio inputs and outputs. First, we gotta hit this wrench to get to the advanced options. And then we want to expand the Voicemeeter. Actually, no, we don't want this. Uncheck this if it's checked. The things we want checked are your microphone. No. Yes, you want your microphone checked. Mine's called this Microsoft LifeCam, but whatever microphone you're using, this is my webcam. And you also want the VB audio Voicemeeter. You want both the input and output checked, so check the big one. And you also want your high definition audio device checked on Windows. And that's just so you can, excuse me, that's so you can hear what you're playing. So we're going to close this. And then you have a lot of other settings. A lot of them don't concern you. It tells you to set up your MIDI device. We have no use for MIDI in just what we're doing. And plugins, loops, demo song, tutorial video, quick start guide. You can look at all of that if that interests you, but it's not necessary. So one last thing we need to do is we need to switch our system sound to go to Voicemeeter. So if you go to settings on the little gear here in Windows 10, and you go to system and then sound, you can choose your output device. Make sure it's set to Voicemeeter input, not Voicemeeter aux input, but Voicemeeter input. Click that. That is that. So lastly, in the setup audio device, you want to make sure that these things are checked. I explained this in the Mac part, but I don't know how I'm ordering these yet, so it's fine. These may not be set as stereo inputs and outputs immediately. So you gotta click on them and make sure treat as stereo channel pair is clicked. So if it's not treated as stereo channel pair, you have Lifecam Cinema 1, Lifecam Cinema 2. It's my webcam. Make sure they're treated as a stereo channel pair so you can have your audio in stereo. Same thing with Voicemeeter, especially with Voicemeeter. Voicemeeter will have all of these inputs. Make sure you just have the first two enabled, and then click on the first one and say treat as stereo channel pair, and then they will just be one stereo channel. I think the speaker may be automatically set to that, but make sure that's clicked too. Treat as stereo channel pair. And that's all good for inputs. So let's make a project on here. So we can go to projects up here, and then new project, and we can just name it radio show. There are templates. You could check, take a look at them. The podcast one might be useful, but we're just going to do default. And in default, we now can, you have all the stuff. It looks complicated, which I understand, but we don't need any of this. So we're going to close that. And we're going to close this, and it's just the tracks. We are going to set the first track to your camera or your microphone, whatever. And you can see my voice going up and down there. And we're going to set the second one to Voicemeeter, which is a stereo thing. Oh, that's not good. There's something up with that. And this will be recording your system sound. This will be recording your microphone. And I'm going to go set up some stuff to make a play radio show. Okay, so we have Waveform all set up. In our first track, let's rename it. This is the vocals. And over here is the music. It's the bed music, and it's the... What? No. I want to rename this one. What? How does this work? This one is the bed music and the radio show music at the same time. So this is music. To be able to hear them, you won't be able to hear them until you click ARM. I call it ARM the recording. It says enable, disable recording. When it's red with a white dot, you'll be able to hear it. And same here. While I record and play back, you won't be able to hear what we're doing, but it's okay because you'll get the gist of it. And my setup for recording is that we have the Voicemeeter on, and your system sound is going into Voicemeeter input, and your virtual input on Voicemeeter is recording it and sending it to ASIA for all. So when you play anything on your computer, it will be recorded. On Mac, Soundflower will be doing the same thing. You will have your system sound set to the multi-output device of your headphones or speakers, as well as Soundflower, and you'll be recording the aggregate device of your microphone and your Soundflower, which you've seen in the Mac part if you're doing Mac. So when you're doing this part, just follow along with your webcam being the first part of the aggregate device, and your webcam and your microphone, and the Voicemeeter being the Soundflower channel of the aggregate device. Okay? And setup for the show is here we have bed music on YouTube, and we have music on Spotify. So we are going to start recording. Go to Waveform. Since these tracks are armed to record, you can hit record here. Oh, why is there a metronome? There wasn't a metronome before. Is that this button? There it is. I must have accidentally clicked that. Make sure that that's off. You don't want a metronome. Okay, we're recording. You can see my voice is going up and down here. We're recording with a webcam mic, which you totally can do. It will sound a little weird unless you put some EQ on it, which we can do. I can tell you a little bit about that after we record. And one thing that's good to know is, in the studio, you have a fader, you bring your microphone up and down when you're not talking. You can just hit the record button, the arm to record button up here, and it will stop recording, and the other track will keep recording, and you can hit it again, and it'll come back. So we go to our bed music. Hello, this is Judge Russell. You're listening to a little bit of a lot of truth on www. It's been a while since I've read the legal ID for all of us. You can see the bed music waveform is there, and if the balance between them is off, we can definitely fix that afterwards. Now, you can fade this down. It's time to play the real music. You go to whatever music player you like. Oh no, advertisements. Okay, that's that. We can pause all of our things and go to the recording, and we can stop it. So now you see that there is this recording here. It's music, and if you play back, which you won't be able to hear, sorry, but it's got the music. And yeah, it's recording. If you used Audition to pre-record your show, it's similar to that. So that's recording. What we can do also is check out the vocals and see if we can make them sound a little better since they're recorded with a webcam microphone. Alright, so the issue here now is that we want to make the webcam mic recording sound a little better because it is pretty tinny, it has a lot of high frequencies, and what we can use to sort of curb those high frequencies is called an equalizer. An equalizer is an audio effect that can raise the volume of some frequencies and lower the volume of others, and I'll show you how to do it. Let's listen to it first though, and, like, make sure that it sounds not as good as it could.
Hello, this is Judge Russell. You're listening to a little bit of a lot of truth on WMUA Amherst. It's been a while.
Okay, yeah, sounds different than the microphone speech. So let's put an EQ on. You can do this by going to the right hand side here, and if you right click, you can say add new plugin. You do that and go into Waveform plugins, and it is in effects and then 4-band equalizer. So you have this down here.
Since I've read the legal ID.
If we can solo my voice, I'll show you something. So if you click on one of these things, it raises the frequency at that point, right? And I soloed my voice by hitting the S here. You can also mute a track by hitting the M, but it's soloed, so listen to it.
For all of us, really. You can see the bed music waveform is there, and if the balance between them is off, we can definitely fix that afterwards. Now, you can fade this down. It's time to play the real music. You go to whatever music player you like. Oh no, advertisements. Yeah.
Alright, so something that someone taught me when they were teaching me about equalizers is that what you want to do is put it up and listen to the most annoying, the worst frequencies, right? Let's find the worst frequency here.
Play something. Okay.
I think that around the 1 kilohertz and the 10 kilohertz is the most annoying. Although I want it to be a little more precise, right? If I go down here it's very big and cutting out a lot of frequencies. We can fix that by turning up the Q. The Q is right here. Turn up the Q for this notch, the equalizer band, right? And let's listen to it now.
That's that. If the balance between them is off, we can definitely fix that afterwards. Now, hello, this is Judge Russell. You're listening to a little bit of a lot of truth on WMUA Amherst. It's been a while since I've read the legal ID. For all of us, really. You know, you can see the bed music waveform is there. And if the balance between them is off, we can definitely fix that afterwards. Now.
And a lot of the noise there is because I live on a busy road and the cars pass by. I wouldn't recommend recording the webcam mic if you live on a road like mine. But we can try listening to it with this effect off and with it on and see the difference. If I can find the button to do that. There you go. Disable. Shortcut is F. So it's off.
You know, you can see the bed music waveform is there.
And with it on.
And, you know, you can see the bed music waveform is there. You know, you can see.
It's a little quieter, but it also sounds a little cleaner. So play around with equalizer and try to make your voice sound good. Don't play with equalizer and like turn up all the bad frequencies. Just because you put equalizer on it doesn't mean it's going to sound better. But if you do it smart and listen to what is grating and annoying and try to cut that out, that's some basic equalizer tips for you. So now we're almost done. There's a couple things we have to do. Let's cut off the beginning of this where I'm just talking and there's no music or bed music or anything. It's useful if you start recording too early and then you do your show and you need to pare it down to get to the limits. Then we'll talk about the automation guidelines and what you need to do to make your program fit in the automation, as well as some FCC stuff. So first let's cut this beginning part off. What we can do is at the very beginning of this we can hit click on one of the bars here, right click it, and then there's an option to split selected clips at cursor. You can also do the slash key to do that. So now we have two clips, and we can delete the first one by clicking on it and then hitting the delete key or the backspace key. And we can do that with the same with these other tracks. So let's click it, delete, click it, delete, click it, delete. And this one, let's split it at the same place. And delete. And so now we have these two. Let's bring them back to the very beginning. And now we can export it. So export is under my face. We'll move my face. Export's right here. You can hit export and you want to hit render to a file. You have some options here. I would choose MP3 and the quality at 128. 128 kilobits per second is pretty low for an MP3 file, but you can't hear the difference over the FM dial because of the way the FM radio works. So this is the smallest and retains the most quality. So choose 128 MP3 file, and that's under quality. You have all these options. Do 128 kilobits. CBR stands for constant bit rate. And yeah, keep the rest the same. Hit render, and it's done because it's only a minute of the music. But then you can have the file and send it to engineer@wmui.org. And one second, let me pull up the pictures about sending it in to Dan. So, the program automation guidelines. First, your files must fit the automation clock. It works on an hourly schedules. So, it also has shows that start on half hours too. So, you need to send it in according to the hourly schedule. If your program starts on an hour and is 2 hours long, you need to split it into hour-long chunks. If it's 1 hour long, you need to split it into 1 hour long chunks. And if it starts on a 30-minute, you do have to split it into 2 or however many chunks. One starting on the 30-minute and the next one starting on the hour. And then maybe another one starting on the hour and ending on the 30 minutes. And so the exact times for an hour-long one, you want it to be in between 58 minutes and 30 seconds and 59 minutes and 30 seconds. This is so that the PSAs can be fit in after the fact, as opposed to live, where you play the PSAs yourself. And the half hour, you want 28 minutes 30 seconds to 29 minutes 30 seconds. Yep, in 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. slot requires 3 separate files. I went over this. 128 MP3 is what you want, and automation needs your files a week in advance. There are some exceptions, including sports who need to report on stuff soon, and if you're late, it's probably okay, but please try to get it a week in advance. Dan's very busy, and there's going to be a lot of pre-recorded shows this semester. And yeah, lastly, send it to engineer@wvvvvv.org. So that is a crash course in recording a show from home. There's tons more you can learn from the documentation of all of the software that I've offered, or I've recommended: Waveform, Soundflower, Voicemeeter. And if you have any problems with those, first ask me, or you can look at the documentation of that specific software. And that's it. Just email me at tech@wmua.org if you have any issues, because I want this to run smoothly, and I apologize for this coming out so late and the blunder that I made in the first video. So thank you so much. Take care.